we do need to sort of get out there that it's not just limited to physical abuse, because sometimes people think that they might be a victim, and because it's not physical abuse, they don't recognize themselves as a victim. So domestic violence and abuse is sort of very wide, and it can be any form of psychological, physical, sexual, financial and emotional abuse. So all these things come under the definition of domestic abuse. And also the type of the domestic violence that we're talking about today in relation to people who are here on like a spouse visa, it's important to note that the abuse doesn't necessarily have to be from the spouse. It can be from other in-laws, members of the family. Yeah, like you say, it can be from in-laws as well. So again, you know, I try to express that to my clients, because sometimes they may not understand. They may be eligible to apply under this category, but because the abuse isn't directly from their spouse, they may think, oh, you know, I might not be eligible to apply because I'm not falling into this category. But it's most certainly, it does apply to victims who are suffering from abuse. It can be from other members of the family as well. And I think in the sort of South Asian community, it's quite common as well.
And do you think that in the South Asian community, based on your experience on the cases that you've had, do you think that people don't still understand the differences between the different types of abuse? Because mostly people will say, well, if you're being hit, that's abuse. But if you're being constantly tormented or shouted at, you know, people don't think that that might be abuse.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's why it's important to sort of get out there that it's not just physical abuse. And like you say, there could be a victim who probably thinks that there's no help out there for them, because they're not even recognizing that it is domestic abuse. Just because there's no physical abuse, they probably don't see themselves as victims. And emotional and sort of psychological abuse can be just as bad as physical abuse, because, you know, as we were talking about at the beginning of the show, it affects your sort of your mental well-being.
That's right. Yeah.
So
yeah. And do you get many people coming in who are quite psychologically damaged then? And what kind of support do you offer them, or do you direct them to other support?
Yes, of course. So we do have a lot of clients when they're applying under this category. You know, they've been through very difficult times, and obviously each case is different. So I have seen some clients in my experience who have been through very sort of severe types of domestic abuse, and it sort of scars them for life, and they feel like they're vulnerable, and they sort of feel helpless, like there's nothing they can do. And what you need to understand is that a lot of these people have come from foreign countries, so they're foreign nationals. They've left their family behind, and they've come into a country that they know nothing about.
That's right.
So they come here. They may have no friends here. They may have no family, no relatives. So sometimes they're sort of very much suffering in silence and suffering alone, and they have no one to speak to. So when we get clients, you know, we always try to point them in the right direction, explain to them that if this is something that applies to them and they want to apply under this category, we sort of advise them fully about what it is that they need to do and how we can sort of start the process.
And a lot of it, what is the Home Office fee for applying for application?
Okay, so for a domestic violence settlement application, the Home Office fee currently is £2,389. So it's the sort of same fee for any type of application for indefinite leave to remain. However, we can, and you know, I certainly have done this in the past where I've applied for a fee waiver from the Home Office. Okay. So if my client comes to me in a situation where they have no income, they've had to sort of leave their marriage, leave the matrimonial home. It could be that they were in a job which they've had to leave, and they've got no income and they're unable to pay the Home Office fee, then I can apply to the Home Office for a fee waiver, and I have done that in the past for a lot of my clients. So we can ask for that fee to be sort of exempted.
Yeah, I can imagine if someone's going through a difficult situation and then they think that they've got to pay so much money on top as well to come out of that situation.
It is a lot of money,
but
yeah.
I guess people don't know that there are waivers in place. That,
of course.
That this can be, we can get rid of the fees,
yeah.
as it were.
So that is something that we would advise our clients about at the outset. So if someone came to see me and explained that they were in financial difficulty as well as being a victim of domestic abuse, then I would most certainly explain to them that we can apply to the Home Office for a fee waiver. Also, another important thing that I want to just explain as well is that there is something called a destitution domestic violence concession. So it's a sort of a concession for people who are going to be applying for settlement via the domestic violence route. So what it means is that you can apply to the Home Office for concession, and what that does is it sort of grants, if it's approved, it grants you like a temporary leave, and what that does is it gives you the permission to claim public benefits.
Right. Okay.
So if you are granted the concession then and you are entitled to benefits, that may help you to sort of, find accommodation or just to get yourself settled if you had to leave your matrimonial home, if you had to leave your job.
Okay.
It gives you some kind of income. So this is a concession that we would apply before making the application. So it's separate to the application, but it is some sort of financial support that is available.
Okay. And what about if you've got children are involved in all of this as well? Is there a safe haven for the children?
Yes, of course. So if the victim of domestic violence, if there are children involved, then of course the concession would allow for that, and it would sort of assess your circumstances. So I think if you had children, you would probably be entitled to, so you'd be entitled to benefits which would take that into consideration. To support yourself and your children. You'd probably be given more priority in terms of accommodation, etc.
Oh, that sounds good, isn't it?
So if someone's come to you and they've been through a situation, how long is it going to take from the beginning to the end for a result, basically? Okay,
so initially what we do is at Knightsbridge Solicitors we provide a free of charge consultation. So I would book my clients in and we'd sort of discuss the requirements of this application with them, and it's sort of a no obligation, free of charge consultation. So at that stage I would explain to them what is required for this application, the type of evidence that we need, and then depending on whether the client, if they wanted to go ahead or whether if they wanted to go away and have a think about it, then we would arrange a second appointment for them to come and see us. If they did decide to go ahead, then we'd get the ball rolling. We'll explain to them what type of evidence is needed for this type of application. We'd start putting the paperwork together, we'd start advising them, and then we would finally submit the application to the Home Office. Okay. And it can take anywhere between 4 to sort of 12 weeks for a decision from the Home Office. We do say allow a maximum of around 6 months for a decision.
Okay. There's quite a long time if someone is actually going through something. Mm-hmm. Every day is going to be long for them.
Of course, yeah, I can appreciate that. It is a long time to wait. However, sometimes you can get a decision sooner than 6 months. However, we do say to allow at least a maximum time period of 12 months.
Okay, so what if someone doesn't have any evidence? Because it's really hard to capture evidence, isn't it? Unless you've got a bruise or something.
Yeah, of course, yes. So that is quite common. I think a lot of my clients, sometimes that's their sort of most, the most thing that they're worried about is, I want to make this application. However, I don't have any evidence to support my case. So that's where at Knightsbridge Solicitors we would advise you of what type of evidence that you can submit. So for example, if there has been involvement from the police, then we can get police incident reports from the police. That is something that's considered as very strong evidence in a case like this. However, there may be a situation where there's been no involvement in the